Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Duke It Out Wrestling Podcast, where I, Duke, talk about the events from the past, present, or future in the world of professional wrestling. Now, obviously, with what's coming up this weekend, what else would I really discuss for the podcast besides WrestleMania 39? The 39th annual WrestleMania in Hollywood, the special two-night event, has terrific looking matches on either one of the nights, so I'm going to look through every single match on the card and give my predictions as who I think will win or who I want to win. Now, this WrestleMania I think has a lot more hype than the past couple of years. WrestleManias 37 and 38 were really good events, but I think either one of the nights either sizzled out a little more than most, and sorry for that little knuckle crack there, but I think this one has the most potential to have both night one and night two be equally as good. Now, night one of last year's WrestleMania, I think, had the advantage of a lot better matches from an in-ring perspective, like Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. And also the return of Stone Cold and the return of Stone Cold against Kevin Owens was also a very underrated match in general when you think about it. It was a very fun Falls Count Anywhere, no holds barred brawl. And then with night two, I'm not going to lie, the best match of night two is Johnny Knoxville and Sami Zayn. And that's not to discredit that match in any way, but the more entertainment match outshined any of the actual pro wrestling matches. Even though from that night there was still the tag team match that was really, really good. Edge and AJ Styles was fine, but yeah, I think this one has the most potential to have either one of the nights be either equally as good, and even if one of the nights is better, only by a tiny bit. Now, earlier today on ESPN, they announced which matches specifically are going to be on night one and night two, which I was kind of thankful for, because at first I was going to be predicting which matches I think will be in night one or night two, or go through night one and night two, and then the matches that weren't announced yet. But I do have on my phone the certain numbered matches for each night on Saturday and Sunday. And so I will start it off with the men's WrestleMania Showcase tag team match, with the women's one obviously being on Sunday. And this one will be Braun Strowman and Ricochet against the Street Profits, against Alpha Academy, against the Viking Raiders. Now, all of these teams are great. Braun Strowman and Ricochet definitely have the least story out of any of these tag teams, especially because they're the only tag team without an actual tag team name. But they've been having a pretty good run the past few months on television, with the backstage heat that Braun Strowman got of him making fun of smaller wrestlers or flippy wrestlers. It was probably good to take that heat a little bit away from Strowman and pair him with one of the best high flyers in the history of the business. And I feel like we're going to get some good spots from them, but I honestly don't know for sure if they're going to win this match, but I think out of these four teams, they're probably the second most likely candidates, especially because with Alpha Academy, they've been having this storyline with Otis potentially joining the Maximum Male Models, or I think that's the name. I can't fully remember, but I think something with that storyline is going to make Otis walk away from the match again, like he did recently on Raw or SmackDown, and that's going to cost them the match for sure. And I think, before I get into them, the Viking Raiders, I think maybe are either the first or third, if they want to start giving them a dominant push, and I don't know for sure if that's going to happen at Mania, especially because I think the Street Profits are definitely the highest booked tag team out of any of the ones in this match. So I think they could really benefit from this, and maybe it could also bring more of a story with Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, maybe going into a rivalry, since we've seen Montez go into some singles action, like his amazing performance in the Elimination Chamber match last month. So that could be possible, but I think regardless, the Street Profits are going to be more than likely walking out the winners here. But I wouldn't be surprised if Braun Strowman and Ricochet won either, or even the Viking Raiders. I just think I have the least confidence in Alpha Academy, especially with that storyline that's going on with Otis. And the next match that I will be talking about, because they did say this is going to kick off the show, but I'm honestly not sure if the WrestleMania Showcase matches are going to be a part of the pre-show for both Saturday and Sunday. At least that's what I was thinking was going to happen when they announced those matches, but who knows? They could end up being on the main card. But what's apparently going to be opening the main card is Austin Theory versus John Cena for the United States Championship, a long-awaited match that has gotten so much tension and build up through just simple tweets over the past couple of years, and to lead up to this awesome promo recently on Raw where Cena just absolutely buried Austin Theory. Sorry for that voice crack, but him just saying that people were piping in crowd noises for his matches because nobody cares. That's one of the most humbling promo moments in WWE's recent memory. And not many other people could do that like John Cena. And they've definitely built up this match very well. Theory also cut a really good promo in an empty arena, which got some very good remindings of the pandemic era. And I think this would be a solid back and forth singles match. I am curious as to how good the chemistry between Theory and Cena could be. I feel like it could either just lead to a standard back and forth match that isn't awful, but isn't great by any means, or it could really impress us and deliver some very solid back and forth spots. But I think regardless, Austin Theory is going to walk out retaining his United States title because I really can't see the visual of John Cena winning and then either dropping it on an open challenge the next day. I mean, that could happen, but I really do think it would bury Austin Theory way too much if he actually did lose to Cena. So I think we are going to see Austin Theory walking out with his United States Championship still intact. And the next match that I will be talking about for night one of WrestleMania is the 6-woman tag team match with Trish Stratus, Lita, and Becky Lynch against Damage Control, the team of Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky. Now, I think this is going to be a pretty fun match. I was wondering if they were going to do a match for the women's tag team championships with Lita and Trish against Kai and Sky, and then they would just do another Becky and Bayley match. But I think this 6-woman tag is going to be pretty fun, and I think it also would give it an excuse to maybe make this a shorter match, because I don't know if this could go any more than 10 minutes, especially because a lot of people have been thinking that Trish Stratus is going to end up turning heel on Becky Lynch and costing her team the match. And I think that would be really cool, and especially if they are actually very serious on wanting to have a feud with Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus, I think that would be some pretty entertaining television. So I really hope that actually is the case. And to see Damage Control get a win at WrestleMania when, let's be honest, that stable has mainly been losing every single one of the matches that they have, even though they're the women's tag team champions. But I think it would just be way more beneficial for them in the long run, since Trish and Lita are already established legends and people are hailing Becky Lynch as the greatest women's wrestler of all time. And it's probably going to continue to stay that way for the rest of time, to be honest. So I think it definitely would be more beneficial for them, and I would love to see a singles feud between Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus. So I really do hope that Damage Control wins by Trish Stratus costing them the match. And I think regardless, Damage Control is going to win. Even if a heel turn doesn't happen, they would just win via shenanigans. And the next match that I'm going to be talking about is Seth freaking Rollins versus Logan Paul. Now, there were some rumors going around that apparently Logan Paul's contract with WWE is going to be done after WrestleMania, and a lot of people are wondering if he should re-sign or not. I think regardless, he's going to re-sign with the company if it is actually true of his contract coming to an end. Because while plenty of fans would be more than okay with this just being Logan Paul's last WWE match and he just goes away, but I feel like they probably still have more left in the cards for him, and especially if he's having a one-on-one match with Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. And I think, like I said, it's going to be irritating on how good this match is probably going to be. Logan Paul has showed that he is really good in the ring, has gotten some very amazing spots with The Miz, the Mysterios, Roman Reigns. So I can't imagine that I can't imagine him botching a bunch of shit. And if he does, I honestly think it would be freaking hilarious. But I think it's honestly going to be a really solid match and could potentially be the best match of night one or combined night one and night two if they really tried hard enough. Especially because Seth Rollins is probably the most dependable in-ring performer that the company has. And I'm pretty sure I've said that in other videos before. And so this is just going to be a very solid match. The crowd is probably going to be booing the shit out of Logan Paul, which will be very entertaining. And Seth Rollins just has to win this match. I was kind of thinking maybe that was one of the other reasons they hadn't faced Logan Paul, is so he could have a big blockbuster match that would get a lot of attention from media and it would be technically an easy opponent for him to beat, since Logan Paul isn't a big established WWE wrestler like Cody Rhodes, and he's just a bigger name in the entertainment world in general, and he's lost playing times in boxing, so might as well have him take another L here. So, I think it'll be a very solid match, but there is honestly no way Logan Paul wins. And if he does, it's going to create a bunch of legitimate heat, and not the good kind of heat that the company can get. But I do honestly think it is a candidate to be the best match of the entire WrestleMania card. And I honestly kind of hate to say that. And next, I will be talking about is the Battle of Family. Father versus son. Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio. We are actually getting the singles match between them at WrestleMania. And if you would watch my video where I was predicting some matches that could be happening on the WrestleMania card, I predicted that it was going to be a tag with Edge and Rey against Balor and Dominic. And I'm really glad that they just decided to separate those feuds and let them have their own match on either night of WrestleMania, because Rey versus Dominic is going to be one of the top matches that's going to put asses in seats, because that Dominic heel turn at Clash at the Castle is one of the biggest pops I have seen from WWE in a long time. And this heel turn really did benefit Dominic as a performer. It let him get more confident on the mic. His heel character, he's been doing amazing as trying to just be this very slimy heel who purposefully acts super weak. And then when they got to the prison Dom thing, they hit a freaking gold mine. And over the past couple of weeks, he has been really showing how much he's gotten better on the mic. His recent promo on Raw I thought was fantastic, and it was great build up for this match. And it leads more unpredictability, because while there could be the easy case that we could think, oh yeah, Rey's easily going to beat Dominic, he's going to humble his son, and good guy wins, happy WrestleMania moment. But with Dominic's impressive work lately, it makes it seem like he could likely win this match. And a lot of people have been wondering if Dominic's going to be done with his heel run after his match with his father, because maybe he'll either beat him up too bad and he feels bad about it, or he'll come to his senses and side with his family. But I think he still has some more months of a heel run for him. I think regardless if he wins or loses this match, he's going to continue being a heel for a while. But I do think Dominic should win this match. And I think it's pretty likely, but I think I'm still wondering if I should go with my brain and say that Rey Mysterio is more than likely going to win. But I think it would be absolute nuclear heel heat if Dominic did beat Rey. So I am going to go with Dominic, but I wouldn't be surprised if Rey does end up winning. Regardless, it's going to be a very, very fun match, and it's going to be one of the most highly anticipated WrestleMania matches in years. So it's going to be a really good time. And next, for the last two matches, I know there have been talks of Charlotte and Rhea already being confirmed as the main event for WrestleMania Night 1. And while it is fair that a women's championship match should main event one of the nights, I don't think this one should, especially because there really isn't as much good a build-up to another match that's on this night of WrestleMania, which I'll get into in a second. But I will talk about Charlotte and Rhea first. I think this will be a very good match, because their match at WrestleMania 36 was probably the best in-ring match at WrestleMania 36. And their match at Money in the Bank either last year or 2 years ago, I can hardly keep track now, it was pretty freaking good. So, and they have really good chemistry together, but I think they could have benefited a lot more with the build-up from this match than they actually did, especially because Rhea has lost to Charlotte in every singles match that they had, and they've only briefly mentioned that in promos. I think they should have added a lot more motivation of Rhea just wanting to beat Charlotte Flair, and especially at WrestleMania. And maybe that wouldn't fit as much with her new character right now. I think it really would have benefited from some very intense and could turn into some actual shoot promos. More than likely not, but it would have been a very entertaining back and forth interaction. And I was debating for a minute if they're just going to have the lulz Charlotte wins moment, even though I do think this is Rhea's time. If there's any time to make her the top woman of the company, it's now. Because I think any other time they're making excuses as to why they had Rhea lose to Charlotte. They would just say that it's not Rhea's time yet. She's got some time ahead of her, and a few years down the line she'll be one of the top stars of the company. Now's that freaking time. Rhea Ripley has proven time and time again how freaking phenomenal she is in the ring, on the mic, and just overall has incredible knowledge in the pro wrestling business. So I think her being the top heel on SmackDown, becoming women's champion, would be an incredible move, and it might start to separate her a bit from Judgment Day, which I think would just benefit her overall, because Judgment Day has been around for a while, and we know that Rhea can obviously carry herself. So I think Rhea needs to win this match at WrestleMania, and I'm still gonna be, and with my predictions, I'm more than likely gonna guess Rhea, but I always have to have the thought in the back of my mind that if they're just going to have Charlotte just continue to win. But we'll see. And lastly, for night one, I will talk about what is my personal main event for night one, because the build up to all this has been freaking phenomenal. It's lasted almost a year, and storylines like this are kind of what WrestleMania main events are all about. And that is the undisputed tag team championship match between the Usos and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I am so freaking excited for this tag team match. The storyline of Sami Zayn I've mentioned in dozens of other videos on this channel already. It's been one of my favorite storylines over the past 10 years, and I've eaten up almost every single bit of television that they've put out. And the build-up that they did for KO and Sami getting back together is something that we've definitely seen before, but it was still just as intense as you could imagine. And their moment of hugging it out in the ring is one of my favorite pops of the year so far. And that KO Mania WrestleZania shirt, I want to buy it, even though it is ridiculously expensive. But I think this is just going to overall be an incredible match, especially with that back and forth promo a couple of weeks ago on SmackDown between Sami Zayn and Jey Uso. It just got me even more excited for this match, because when Sami Zayn was telling Jey Uso that he thinks he's mad at himself and he's only mad that Sami hit Roman with the chain, that he hit Roman with the chair, is that Jey didn't get to do it first. And Jey's acting after Sami said that was terrific. And they've obviously been building up tension with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso for months. They had their incredible feud during the pandemic era, and he's been a part of the bloodline ever since then. And just a couple of weeks ago, they had Roman and Jey sitting down backstage, and Roman told him that he loved him, but then Jey just walked away. That was incredible buildup, and I, honest to God, think that after WrestleMania, it's just going to have to lead to the focus of Jey Uso furthering himself even more from the bloodline, because them as heels is terrific, but I think with all of the care that fans have for this story right now, they kind of have to show the signs that Jey Uso is going to be turning babyface pretty soon, to hopefully lead to a match with Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, either for the belt or not for the belt. My choice, it wouldn't be for the belt, but I will be discussing that in a later video. Hopefully that'll be out either on Friday or Saturday. But I am so excited for this tag team match. I might be more excited for it than Roman versus Cody, just by a little bit. But I think I was very back and forth, because I can see either result. Some people were thinking, oh, maybe KO will turn heel on Sami again. Please, for the love of God, do not do that. It would be so fucking dumb. But it might just be the hopeful side of me talking. But KO and Sami are going to become undisputed tag team champions at WrestleMania. I want to see it happen so bad, and I'm sure plenty of other fans want to see that happen as well. So I really hope that does end up being the case, and I think that would be an amazing way to close off night one of WrestleMania. Like, what bigger of a pop could you get from any other of the matches on that card? Honestly, I really can't think of much besides maybe the Trish Stratus heel turn. So I'm really excited for night one. I think maybe because of the fact that it's got the tag team championship match, Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul, that it, like I mentioned with WrestleMania 38, it could be a little bit better from an in-ring perspective, but night two definitely has a lot of matches to look through. So I will immediately get started on my predictions for WrestleMania 39 night two. And like with night one, I will start it off with the WrestleMania Showcase Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match, this time for the women's division. It'll be Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez against Natalya and Shotzi, against Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, against Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. Now, this match I think only has a little bit less intrigue and build up compared to the men's showcase tag team match, is that only one of the 4 teams in this match is actually a booked tag team and not just thrown together stars who just don't really have anything to do for WrestleMania, which that is just kind of what it seems like. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez is the only one that makes a little bit of sense, but also there was the stage where Raquel Rodriguez would be having a different tag team partner every single week, and they would act like they were BFFs. So we never really know anymore, but I think this is going to be solid enough, but I'm not having as much anticipation because I'm honestly thinking there is no other reason to have this match other than to continue to book Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler as a very dominant team, and they'll hopefully be the ones to dethrone Damage Control because while I'm not the biggest fan of Ronda Rousey and I'm not the biggest Ronda Rousey hater either, but I think the one big match that she has left in WWE that would really get a lot of fans anticipated is her versus Shayna Baszler. So I think them dominating a tag match at WrestleMania could just lead to some more better storylines toward that. So, and especially because, like I mentioned, they're the only actual tag team that's in this match, so it would just make sense. And for the second match that we'll be talking about for the card, it will be Brock Lesnar versus Omas. Now, I'm not the first person to say that. As soon as this match was announced, I was thinking, oh fuck, Vince McMahon is back in creative, because like Triple H hasn't booked Omas on a single pay-per-view, I don't think, since he's taken over creative. But then he's going to get a spotlighted WrestleMania match with Brock Lesnar? Like, what? But then it started to make a bit more sense when it's like, yeah, I could just bring a very fun highlighted spot of Brock Lesnar picking up Omas for the F5 and winning. But they did add a little bit of intrigue with their back and forth exchanges physically on Raw. They're like Brock trying to take him down and he still won't be able to do it. Then Omos hitting him with the weight thing that they were using. It was pretty solid, like especially to build up a match like Brock Lesnar versus Omos, which I thought I wasn't going to give a shred of a shit about. It made me care a little bit, and that's a huge deal. But I don't think this match is going to be anything memorable besides the spot of Brock Lesnar picking up Omos for the F5, which will be a fun WrestleMania moment. I can't see this match going any longer than 5 minutes, and I think that would be beneficial for both Brock and Omos for this kind of a match, and it should just be a fun spot, and Brock Lesnar is more than likely winning. If Omos does pin Brock at WrestleMania, though, it would be one of the biggest memes in wrestling history eventually. People will be probably really pissed off at first, but it would probably become a huge meme, and I low-key kind of want to see it, but not really. Next I'll be talking about is Bianca Belair versus Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. Now, I am pretty excited for this match, but kind of like what I mentioned with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair, I don't think the build-up to this has been that solid, especially with a world title match at WrestleMania. And more so because Bianca Belair and Asuka are already two of the best women's wrestlers in the world, and just saying it's Bianca Belair versus Asuka for a world title alone can bring some hype to fans, but Asuka teasing of whether or not she was just gonna take the belt with her or something like that really wasn't that intriguing, and I think we could have had a lot more solid moments of television between them before we got to this world title match. But I think they're definitely going to settle it very well in the ring. And I would think more so Asuka was going to win the belt if there was just a little bit more build up to it and to show that Bianca was actually afraid of losing the title, because they just made it seem more like Bianca was just freaked with Asuka's behavior, and yeah, Asuka does the mind game stuff, but it didn't really seem like Bianca was that intimidated as she could have been. And I think that's the only reason why I'm leaning toward Bianca retaining, because she has been champion for a while, so it would make a lot of sense for her to lose it right when it's about to hit the 1 year mark. But I think her losing to Asuka right then, I think would just feel a little bit too sudden or out of the blue, even though she has been champ for a while. I think they had to. I think it would lead. I think it would be very beneficial if we have Bianca getting a pin, maybe by a sneaky roll up or something that could be controversial, and that could piss off Asuka, and then Asuka would turn heel, and then they have a match at Backlash, and then Asuka would get the belt. I think that would be more beneficial for both of them, and I think it could lead to a much more entertaining feud with Bianca and Asuka down the line. I think that would be really entertaining. And while I think there is the possibility of Asuka capturing the title at Mania, I am gonna still lean toward Bianca retaining instead of Asuka capturing the title. And next, one of my most highly anticipated matches of the card for either night 1 or night 2, Gunther versus Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus in a triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, this was one of the first heavily rumored matches for Mania, and everyone was agreeing, like, yeah, this would be fucking amazing. Sheamus versus Gunther at Clash of the Castle remains my favorite WWE match from 2022. Their chemistry is undeniably incredible, and probably helped a little bit because they forgot that wrestling was fake for a second and were battering each other in the chest or in the head for fucking real. So maybe that could have been another reason to it, but I think the chemistry of this as a triple threat would benefit very well, especially since Drew and Sheamus were great as a team, and they were trying to do some nice build up on SmackDown with Sheamus calling Drew McIntyre a backstabber, and there could be the fan arguments of, oh, Sheamus is taking it too far, blah, 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 the typical soap opera-y bullshit. But I think in the ring, this is going to be one of the most brutal matches of the entire show, if not the most brutal. While I was mentioning like a match like Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul could be the show stealer, this kind of has to be the show stealer, doesn't it? Like, I cannot imagine not feeling anything else during this match other than just pure adrenaline and intensity, because the ways that Gunther is going to be chopping Gunther, the way Gunther is going to be chopping Gunther, yeah, that'll be very fun. The way Gunther will be chopping Sheamus and McIntyre is going to be insanely brutal. There's going to be some very fun spots, very hard hitting, and it's actually very unpredictable because since the fact that Sheamus has never won the Intercontinental Championship and it's the only title he has never gotten a hold of in WWE, I am wondering if this could be the time for Sheamus to capture it. But I think they do want to keep the title on Gunther a little bit longer. And while I love Drew and he's definitely world champion or intercontinental champion material, I don't think he's going to be winning this match at Mania. And maybe he could be the one man added to just be the one to take the pin, even though that is kind of likely. I don't know for sure. But I do think Gunther is going to be walking out retaining the title. Imperium might make an interference or not, or it's just Gunther straight up destroying both of them. It could go either way because Gunther is that believable of a heel already. But I think this is a top candidate for the WrestleMania show stealer, and I kind of hope it's the WrestleMania show stealer. But I really do hope that Gunther retains the title because I do think he has the capabilities to beat the Honky Tonk Man's reign of longest amount of days as Intercontinental Champion, but I don't know if they will go to that because I think it was 1,000+ days, and even Roman Reigns hasn't even gotten to that yet, and who knows if he even will when I talk about that prediction down the line. But next match that I will be talking about, the second to last match. Yes, the second to last match I will be talking about in this card is Edge versus the Demon Finn Balor inside Hell in a Cell. Now, I've already mentioned this before that I think the feud between Edge and Finn Balor has been a little bit too extended, but I was kind of saying the same thing when I was going into their I Quit match at Extreme Rules. But regardless of what I thought about the booking, they were able to knock it out of the fucking park in the ring. And their I Quit match might be my favorite I Quit match from WWE history. The only I Quit match from that company that I can think of that was on those levels of good is just John Cena and Randy Orton at Breaking Point. And honestly think it is better than that match. So the chemistry of Edge and Finn Balor is very undeniable. And regardless of how I felt about the booking, even though it's been very, very solid, the creepy promos that Edge and Balor cut separately on 2 different weeks of Raw in a backstage setting, I thought were really, really entertaining. And I think the Demon character will bring out some either very weird or very violent spots. And with the stuff with the Demon on the main roster, they've mainly had it be more gimmicky stuff. And I feel like it would be much more beneficial for the Demon character to just have him be extra violent, have no remorse, and just go to any lengths possible to try to defeat Edge. And I am excited for how this match is going to go, but I feel like this could be one of the matches that really sneaks up on you on how good it is. So, and I really low-key hope it does that because Edge is my favorite wrestler of all time. So I would always love to see some more WrestleMania classics from him. And while he is my favorite wrestler, I don't think he should be walking out the winner of this feud, especially because Edge could be retiring in the next few years. It's not really confirmed, but he has definitely acknowledged that he doesn't know how many matches he has left in the company. And Finn Balor is one of their biggest stars, and he has been screwed over time and time again on the main roster. So to see him defeat a legend at WrestleMania inside Hell in a Cell as the Demon character would be a fantastic visual. And it could just lead to nothing else but great things in the future for Finn Balor. So I'm really excited for this Hell in a Cell match. I think it will sneak up on people and how good it's going to end up being. And Finn Balor is more than likely going to be walking out with the win. I could see Edge winning, but it really should not be the case. And that's coming from a guy whose favorite wrestler is Edge. So there you go. And now the WrestleMania main event. Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Now, the back and forth promos that Cody and Roman have had on either Raw or SmackDown were fantastic. Roman Reigns honestly might have did some of his best disses ever with his promos against Cody. When he mentioned that he didn't want to do the Stardust thing, so he ran away. He started a promotion that he couldn't get over in, and he ran away. And I thought that was an incredible line. And Roman Reigns continues to show off this incredible presence and cockiness and charisma that is so freaking fantastic for television. But then Cody brought some great words back. Whenever he loses these belts, he has nothing. He will be a chief without a tribe, and that Solo will leave him. The Usos will leave him. And he was trying to get in the head of Solo Sikoa as well, saying that he wasn't ready. And I don't want to get too further into this because, spoiler alert, if you watch my We Need to Talk About series, the next one I will be making that is hopefully going to be coming out tomorrow is We Need to Talk About Roman Reigns, which I will be discussing whether or not what should be happening if he either loses the belt to Cody or if he is going to retain the title and hold on to it until SummerSlam potentially. But I will just give a short version here. I do think, and this is very, very back and forth. I was very indecisive on what decision I should make for this because I was wondering if they wanted to try and extend Roman to being champion for 1,000 days. But I think it's time for Cody to finish the story and finally become WWE World Heavyweight Champion and win the title that his father was not able to get and finally live off that dream for the entire Rhodes family. And it would be an amazing moment to end off WrestleMania. And I remember seeing a post earlier today when they were showing the poster announcement back when they announced WrestleMania was going to be in Hollywood. I think that was in 2021 when they announced that, or 2019 even. And someone wrote down like, who would have thought that AEW main eventer Cody Rhodes would be the main event of this WrestleMania down the line. It is really crazy to think about. And like I've mentioned, I think in other videos I've talked about with who should dethrone Roman Reigns, I mentioned that Cody Rhodes being the one to dethrone him would be very meaningful for the entire world of pro wrestling since he was one of the men to develop AEW. He's a generational superstar as well. It's very, very fitting. And I can see the visual of Cody losing, but I don't know if that would really benefit his character that much down the line. And I don't know if he would be treated as much of a main event caliber star as he currently is now if he doesn't beat Roman. So I guess we have to wait and see, and make sure to watch my We Need to Talk About video to look at any other thoughts that I have on this feud between Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. But those were my predictions of the WrestleMania 39 card for night 1 and night 2 and this episode of the Duke It Out Wrestling podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and please make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, and duke out your opinions below in the comments.